Please silence your devices. We are live. Alaikum salam.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوكل عليه من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا رسول الله. اعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Brothers and sisters, before getting into the theme of Qur'an, I ask And we remember our brothers and sisters throughout this Ummah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu made suffering, whether we know the cause of that suffering or not, whether the suffering is in our own homes, whether it's in our city, whether it's on the other side of the world. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can relieve any pain and suffering from any of the believers or any group of believers. And through our dua, inshallah, Allah will relieve the sufferings. Brothers and sisters, the situation that is going on in Philistine and Palestine, and more particularly in Gaza today, is something that's it really tugs at your heart. It's a very difficult situation to watch, listen to talk about. And it's even more difficult for me, like many of you, I've actually been in a number of these places, refugee camps, these concentration camps. I know the areas, places, camps that they're talking about, because I've spent the night and nights in many of these camps over the years. And I can't help but wonder about all of the good brothers that I've met during the times that I was there, whether they are even alive. So it's a very personal experience, like it should be for all of us. It gets more real to me, as I say, because I've been in those situations, I've been in those camps. The death toll that has taken place today is a death toll that you would have to go all the way back to 1948 and the initial occupation of Palestine by the Zionists. You have to go back that far before you can find over 7,326 men, women, and children having been killed through the devastation brought about by the Israeli military. And it's mind-boggling, and it's very hurtful to see how this is being just shown in front of the world. The world, we're witnessing this open genocide. And starting with the leader of this country, for the most part, all that the governments of the world have been saying is that this Zionist occupation colonial state has the right to defend itself. It's it really tugs at your heartstrings to see this kind of genocide and then hear the response of the president of this country and the president of so many countries. And what's even more hurtful to hear the loud silence of the leaders of Muslim majority states and see how many of the leaders of these Muslim countries, these Muslim majority states, are acting as if they can't say anything, that there's no response that they could give to this genocide. And I'll end on this note. I just wonder how much if these particular Muslim majority states were attacked, how much would they want the rest of the world to at least say something, to call into question those who are causing this kind of devastation. So filmed on international television and by social media, by individual cameras. So let us pray and remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine, particularly in Gaza. But as I mentioned last week, even in the West Bank, the Palestinians living there, their situation is getting much worse than it has been over the years. And part of it is because the Israeli government has just turned loose these settlers. They've turned loose those people who've come from America and other countries to take the land of the Palestinian people. So now they're running around like crazed, mad dogs, attacking and beating up any Palestinian that they see And nothing appears to be happening in defense of the Palestinians. So all we have at this point, we can send aid, and I encourage all of us to find a reputable Islamic relief or helping hand for development, for aid and development. Find a reputable, responsible relief agency that we can contribute to try to help the starvation of these men, women, and children. And all we can do is pray for their souls. Brothers and sisters, I'm not going to take much of your time today. I want to remind myself first and remind you that there's no greater gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to human beings than the gift of the guidance of Islam. There's no human being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed this world with all the way up until Qiyamah more than the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's such a miraculous gift that this gift just keeps on giving to humanity today. We know everything about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, so we benefit over 1,400 years after he was on this earth. We are still every day benefiting from this gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us in the person of the Khatam Nabi'een, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the next best gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, the Qur'an is the greatest of gifts. It's the greatest of gifts. But how many Muslims have we met over the years that tell us that it's only the Qur'an that we need? Don't worry about the hadith. I interpret these ayahs in this way. I'm a smart person. I can read Arabic, I can understand, I have good comprehension. So what do I need? The example of the Prophet Muhammad for astaghfirullah alayhi. And of course, this Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given humanity so that we can exercise those verses. We can do what we're commanded to do by following this example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us of Islam comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility is to follow what's in the book and follow the sunnah and to do righteous deeds. There's an ayah, I'll read in translation, it's found in the 16th surah of the Quran, ayah 97, that whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life. And we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do. Brothers and sisters, the responsibility that we have to do good every single day that we are gifted with this precious thing called life. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returns our souls from that, taken away from the body and put it back into these bodies, so we have another opportunity to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a gift that can only come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sunnah gives us a way to show how we can daily express our gratitude for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Brothers and sisters, there's not a day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that we can afford to waste and not take advantage of trying to get closer to our Lord. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we are all very familiar with this hadith. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us to take advantage of 5 before 5. Take advantage of your youth before old age, your health before sickness, your wealth before poverty, and your free time before you have no more free time. Your daily preoccupations are such that you don't have leisure time anymore. And so the Prophet ﷺ is giving us some clues. Don't waste your time on things that are meaningless. Take advantage of every moment that we have to try to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, preparing us for this meeting that we have with our Lord. Brothers and sisters, there was a Sahaba that many of us are not as familiar with. That was a very inspirational figure at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and after the death of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And this Sahaba was one that fought in the Battle of Badr. He fought in these so many of the battles. He was known for his bravery. He was known for his fighting skills. This was a Sahaba that the Prophet, and he learned not the entire Qur'an during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, but the Sirah literature says that he learned a majority of the Qur'an during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that the Sahaba after the death of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would come to Hudayfa ibn al-Qiyam. And they would ask him for his interpretation about ayahs from Qur'an. Help us understand. What did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mean by what he said or what he was doing in this particular instance? One of those historical points about him was that he was so entrusted by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he was perhaps the only one during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would entrust him to, let me tell you something, Hudayfa, don't say anything to anybody. Don't say anything to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Don't say a word of what I'm saying to you, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, Ali ibn Abu Talib. Don't say a word to them. This is something I'm entrusting to you and you alone. And this particular trust was the trust of telling Hudayfa, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had identified to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, who were the munafiqun, who were the hypocrites in the ranks of the believers. And Hudayfa never uttered a word about this. He's walking around with this secret coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, evidence of how he didn't say anything. That during the Khalifa of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Umar came to Hudayfa and said, Hudayfa, it would really help if you would tell me I could govern more effectively. Tell me the names of the people who are living today that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had revealed to him who were the munafiqun, who were these hypocrites. And Hudayfa said, that was between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and me. I can't divulge this. I'm holding on to these names up until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes my soul. And so the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and don't have time to get into so much of this history, but during his lifetime, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ dealt with so many who were trying to undermine this ummah, undermine the development and establishment of Islam during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and afterwards. That they had the same revelation. They had the same Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of something that was wrong in their hearts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to stray. Read the history, biographies of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't take my word. Don't take anybody's word for it. We say we love the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Read as much as you can, not in addition to hadith literature. Read about that history. And it gives us a kind of global perspective to help us understand things that are going on around us, things that are happening to us. Brothers and sisters, you and I know the story of Israel and Miraj. We know that the Prophet Muhammad went to sleep outside of the Kaaba one night. And other narrations say that he was in the house of his beloved aunt. He made this night journey, this Israel, and then the Miraj into the heavens. When he went to Jerusalem and led the prophets in Salat. And that during this particular time, the Prophet Muhammad said it and made it clear that on my way back, I saw the caravan that had gone to Damascus. And he talked about how there were people running around in the desert looking for camels that had goods on their backs. And when this word, when the Prophet Muhammad returned the next day and began to tell the Sahaba and to tell anyone who would listen that I made this journey last night, and one night I went from this point at the Kaaba, I went a distance that would normally take 2 months to go there and return. And any caravan going where I saw they were going, it would take 2 months. And then those, even the Muslims were saying, Muhammad sallallahu, you're trying to tell me that a journey that would take 2 months, that you went there in one night and you're back here the next morning to tell us about what you did, what you saw, what you experienced. And there were many amongst the Muslims who were praying every day with the believers. They were acting as if Islam were firmly planted in their hearts. Only Allah knows best. And there were so many of them who left Islam as a result of the Prophet Muhammad. This was their test. We can take getting beat up by the Muslims. We can take that. But I can't take you, Muhammad telling me that you did a journey that would take 2 months. You did it not into the heavens, but this journey from Jerusalem to back to Mecca, and then going and seeing this caravan to Damascus. Oh, and you're seeing all of this. It took 2 months. You said you did it in a night. And there were many of the believers. Some of them, they weren't backsliders before this event, but there were some of the believers who said that this is too much. I can't wrap my head around this. That all of the miracle of the Qur'an, all of the miracles that I've seen in your life and in the life of this faith that you brought to us, I can't take it. I can't believe it. And many of those Sahaba apostate. They left Islam because this test, this was their test. All of us had a different test. This was their test. They couldn't wrap their heads around it. They couldn't just say, Allah, give me an understanding, give me patience until I can understand this. They left Islam as a result. These were people who were praying and fasting and doing all of these other things. Brothers and sisters, during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, and this may be something that everyone might not be aware of, but there were scribes of the Prophet Muhammad who left Islam during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad. There was a Christian scribe. And I couldn't find anywhere it was just a reference. I have seen what this particular name was. There was a Christian scribe who embraced Islam, and he was writing down Surah Baqarah. He was one of the scribes that the Prophet Muhammad SAW was dictating Surah Baqarah to. This Christian, this Muslim, ended up leaving Islam and told the believers that you all are still running around waiting for something to come. The truth has already been here and gone. There were others who were scribes of the Prophet Muhammad who wrote down the Qur'an and then left Islam. Brothers and sisters, I'm mentioning these particular unfortunate episodes in the history of our faith to give us a little reality therapy. And we're not guaranteed that the Sahaba, even those who are transcribing the Quran, that the Prophet Muhammad entrusted enough to write down the words of Allah that you and I have today, if they were capable of leaving Islam, then none of us should never feel secure that what we are doing will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will hold us into this deen. Oh, praise is due to Allah. Praise and the seek His assistance against evils of our minds and against the unsuccessfulness of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can be straight. And whomsoever Allah causes to err, as a result of his or her actions, no one can be right. For Allah help those who helped this religion of Muhammad and countless amongst them. For Allah disappoint and disgrace those who try to undermine this religion of Muhammad to do not make those. Brothers and sisters, the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised mankind from the time of Adam, from Islam up until the time of the Prophet Muhammad Allah was true to his word. But there has never been a time as with human beings on earth that we've been without guidance. To let you in on the secret, we did not evolve from a salamander or lizard or monkey. We are descendants of Adam and Hawa. And that first man received guidance. There was never a time, and will never be a time when we as human beings will be on this planet and not know or be able to find out what it is that we're supposed to do. And how, when we do this, there are consequences. When we don't do what we're supposed to do, there are consequences. Brothers and sisters, at no time in our lives, no time when we are on this planet, should we have it in our minds that we are guaranteed the gift of Islam. It's a precious gift. And if there is some indication that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that we don't appreciate this gift, it's demonstrated in the history of Islam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was just taken away from us. But you don't appreciate it, so let me inspire someone else to sacrifice for this deen, to sacrifice for this ummah, and maybe they will be more appreciative of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Brothers and sisters, there is nothing more precious than this deen. And I've mentioned this a number of times in closing. I've mentioned this a number of times over the years that there are certain ayahs in the Qur'an. There's certain hadith that to me are just scary kind of hadith. And I just want to share, not quoting the exact word, but the idea and the phrasing of the hadith is that there will be a man who lived his life doing those things that anyone looking at that person would say that this is a man of paradise. And then there will be another man who lived his life in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And people will look upon that man and say, this man is destined for the hellfire. He's going to hell based on the way that he's lived. But then the hadith goes on, the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will catch up with that person who looks like they're going to paradise. And that person will start doing the deeds that will end him up in Jahannam. And then that person who was living such a miserable life, and everybody just looked at it and said, this guy is going to the fire. The people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change his heart, and he'll start doing the deeds of the people of Jannah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him with Jannah. So at no point, no matter how many tahajjuds we make at night, no matter how much sadaqah we give during the day, no matter how many times we make hajj, make umrah, how many times we do those things that are clear in this deen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala counts this as something good that's written down not by the angel on your left, that this joker is doing something wrong again, but on the right, who's writing down our good deeds. Never for a moment can we take for granted that we're doing enough for this deen of Allah. Never can we take this for granted. Never can we feel that I've lived a life for so many years that surely I'm going to paradise. My simple message today, in just a one-liner, is that we should practice this deen with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our hearts, but we should practice it every day, every part of the day, running scared. Begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on this path, begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from evil, begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to count us amongst those who receive this rahmah on Qiyamah, who on this day will not be among the unfortunate ones, but will be in Jannah. Oh Allah, give us an understanding of this deen that is useful for us in this world and in the next. Oh Allah, plant our feet firmly on this Salat al-Mustaqim and do not let us stray or get off this path. And oh Allah, make not this ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu an object of test for the disbelieving people. They come into Salat.